All right, my friends, welcome back. Today I'm making a video that I wish I wouldn't have to make. I received a text from my friend Eric last night informing me of some tragic news, and that is that Adam the Woo had passed away. If you don't know who he is, he was a daily vlogger on YouTube. And he'd been doing that for quite a number of years. I don't know exactly how far back it goes, but he was probably around near the beginning of YouTube, I'm guessing. You know, like when YouTube was like where you could only upload videos no longer than 15 minutes. I don't know for sure. But he worked in retail. He was also in the punk band when he was much younger. And he decided, that once he reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, that he would quit his job and do it full time. And he lived in a van for a while, commuted here and there and everywhere, and just made videos on the go. But he did it every single day. And he was extremely relatable. He was very likable. And he related to people on a level that most people functioned on. He wasn't a polished individual. He had no desire to be. And I think that's one of the things that so many people liked about him. One of the things he would do, he would frequent theme parks. Now, those were not necessarily my favorite videos, but once I glommed onto him a few years ago, I started watching just tons of his videos. But I haven't watched him from the beginning. And honestly, I haven't watched him in the past probably 6 months a whole lot. I'd see some here and there. But once he started traveling international, I lost interest because I watched other videos of the same genre. And I just didn't like the way he did his. There's nothing wrong with them. I just didn't like the way he did his. And I don't care about the Disney theme parks. So I just kind of tuned out for those. But everything else I liked a lot. And it wasn't because his content was better than a lot of other people's. It wasn't really. It wasn't. When you watched Adam for a while, you understood that people were not tuning in necessarily because of the content itself. People subscribed to Adam the man. Now, the thing about Adam was, he was kind of a big kid. And because of this, he developed a handful of haters and trolls on YouTube. There are actual channels that zeroed in on him and a few other vloggers that did the kind of thing he does. And they would make fun of him. He was the object of their derision. And I think it was largely unfair and uncouth. And some of these people are the same kinds of people that don't show their face at all. But you knew that when you tuned in to Adam the Woo's videos every day, you were going to see him. He was never afraid to be fully himself. And even though he's passed away in his sleep, apparently, at the age of 51, he's lived a more full life probably than most people. He never married. He had love interest. He wasn't perfect. And like I said, he wasn't polished. But I think that's what people liked about him so much. He would pronounce things wrong. He wouldn't do a whole lot of research before showing up on the scene. He would sometimes just get in his car and see what would happen. And he would arrive at a destination not even knowing that that's where he was going to go. And he'd make his impromptu remarks upon seeing any given thing. And what I thought was funny about Adam was he would, a lot of people when they have the camera, they'll pan left and right and all over the place and constantly move. And sometimes Adam would just focus on one thing for a while. And he wasn't afraid to pause. And he wasn't afraid for his audience perhaps to get a little uncomfortable. I don't think they did that often. If you knew Adam, you wouldn't. But yeah, he just, here's what I loved about him. Number one, he was just a very real individual. He seemed like a very kind, caring, honest individual. I watched somebody else's video about his passing. They said that they've never heard him say a curse word ever. He never talked bad about anybody else, no matter what people were saying about him. So he had somewhat of an innocence to him. That's not to say that he was perfect, because he wasn't. I mean, some of the things that some people said, I actually agreed with, and I lost interest because of a few things, but nothing really wrong. We all have things about us that people like, that people don't like, and no one's ever going to buy into everything about any of us, right? But Adam just got up every day and did his thing. And people would give him a hard time about being a big kid, not growing up, being the adult Disney. I understand some of the criticisms level, but there's, at the same time, nothing really wrong with what he was doing. He was living life on his own terms. Not many people can do that. And that's another thing people had a hard time with. He was a single man, so he had the liberty to make his own decisions like that without having to regard anybody else's feelings. And there's nothing wrong with that, because he's single. But I loved the guy. I really did. He just seemed like a very, interesting person, kind individual, and I always wanted to meet him. I'd comment from time to time on his videos, and he'd respond back, and I'm surprised I haven't run across him, because I live in Lakeland, and he was actually in Lakeland quite often. And if you were a Disney goer, you probably saw him from time to time. The people over at Disney Springs told me they see him all the time. So I'm really surprised I haven't crossed paths with him, but my friend Eric actually got a chance to talk to him for about 5 or 10 minutes. But here's the thing about Adam. If you look at him and you listen to him and see how unscripted he is, he seems kind of unprepared and undisciplined. But at the same time, he had the discipline to get up every day and do something with his day. Go somewhere, even if it was just walking around Celebration with a piping hot caffeinated beverage and just talking to you while he's looking at Howard the duck in the lake. Even if he's just going to the store or riding around on what's the name of his little golf cart, Little Marge, or whatever it was he called it. And yes, he talked about some things a little too often. I think he kept harping on the same subjects, and to me, I found it kind of annoying. But yet, he would do it every single day, and that just to me speaks of such a discipline that most people don't have. And so for that, I would have to say I deeply respect him for that. But here's the thing about him also. Adam broke all the rules as far as making videos goes. He didn't really care what you thought. I mean, he cared, don't get me wrong. He would even talk about how there were people out there that he just couldn't please. No matter what he did, he couldn't make them happy. So to some degree, he must have tried to give people what they want. But he didn't sell himself out completely. He didn't try to sell a lot of merch. He didn't. There was a time he tried it. All of us have tried it, I don't have merch. But I'm saying he's tried to have different sticks in the fire to garnish some income. But he just wasn't all about that. He just lived off the ad revenue pretty much. But he broke all the rules, because you have these content creators out there who make a living off of telling you how you can grow your channel. Fine-tune your intros and your thumbnails, and ask the right questions, engage with people by doing this, that, and the other thing. And they have all sorts of advice. And anybody who's a content creator has watched those channels, and every day it's a different thing, right? And they can change it whenever they want and blame it on the algorithm. And a lot of people try these things to no avail. Adam did none of those things. Adam didn't care about his thumbnails. He might capture a screenshot, but he didn't put words all over it and make them look, they weren't eye-popping or anything. He was engaging, but he was you're just kind of there for the ride. And he talks to you like you're a friend or a family member. And that's what people liked about him. But he didn't really follow any of these rules, and yet he was still hugely successful. Why is that? Because he's a likable guy. You know, people know when you're sincere. People know when you're real. And I didn't like the way he shot a lot of his videos. I didn't. Sometimes he annoyed me. Sometimes, but I still loved the guy. There's a lot to really take away from him. And that is to don't discard your childlike curiosity, which he had in abundance. Don't discard your childlike curiosity. Care what other people think, but don't let it run your life. And get out every day. He didn't care what he did as long as he got out the door. Let me tell you something about making videos. It's not as easy as some people think. Some videos look like full-scale productions that probably require a team of people to put together and to complete. But there's so many of us out here, we're just a one-man show. And it takes quite a bit of time to actually make the video, think about what you're going to say, articulate yourself well, get home, edit it, upload it, and then add everything you need to the video and decide what time you want to publish. And then you hope, because you got to watch it back to make sure you actually want this to go out, right? And you just hope that this is going to be good. And not all of it is. And Adam would have told you that. But Adam did this every day. And my hat is off to him for doing that. You know, I even told him, I said, Adam, in a comment, I said, Adam, you're leaving something on the table by shooting in 1080p and not 4K. Because he actually shot his videos on the same camera that I'm using right now, which is the Osmo Pocket 3. It's a great camera. But he was only shooting in 1080p, and this thing shines in 4K, you know. And but he didn't care. The reason he did that is because of time. It took less time to upload and to edit and all this other stuff. But Adam did what he wanted to do, but he was still highly relatable. And yeah, there's so many things I guess I could say about him that I'm probably going to think of later on. People are going to miss hearing him say, "Join me, shall you?" And the vlog is over. They're going to miss hearing that. But the thing is, somebody entertained the idea that he might be up in heaven right now with a camera vlogging because he can't help himself. And boy, wouldn't that be something? But someday we shall join him. At least I hope you feel certain that you would. I'm just glad that he got to spend time with his family. Oftentimes, his parents would make an appearance. His sister would. He would take them on trips. And many of us can't do that, but he did. I seriously doubt he had too many regrets because he made the most use of his time. And he loved other people and people loved him. What more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? To those people that hated on him, you're the ones I feel really sorry for, because he was a quality individual, and I have a feeling that without him to pick on anymore, that you're not going to have much of a career on YouTube. And it's sad to think that that's what your existence was. At the same time, I don't want to speculate as to what caused Adam's passing. We don't know yet. There's supposed to be an autopsy, and I'm sure we'll hear soon enough. But I don't want to speculate. It could have been a myriad of different factors. Not all at once, but, you know, I know a lot of people are getting on YouTube and speculating about one thing or another. And the thing is, we don't know yet. But I'm so thankful we had him. I know a lot of people are going to miss him. He was just somebody that people watch on a daily basis. And I'm so thankful that he was here. He made people feel like they could do what he does. He gave viewers that confidence. And that's something that maybe we should consider. Do we help lift people up? Do we help people feel like they can do what we do? Well, you have to feel like you're doing something worthwhile to begin with. And what Adam did was worthwhile. And he will be missed.